Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's philosopher time. Okay, we're in Martin Heidegger's Restriction of Being, still on section L98, talking about logos. Here, logos is surely taken as something audible. So what else is this term supposed to mean but utterance, discourse, and word? Especially since at the time of Heraclitus, lagain is already in use with the meaning of saying and talking. First he tells me it's misinterpreted, and then he gives me on a roundabout to show me their interpretation. Now he's trying to say that it might be essentially what I was thinking and everyone else was thinking before. Thus Heraclitus himself says in fragment 73, one should not act poien and talk legen as if asleep. One should not talk as if act and talk as if asleep. The Walking Dead. Here, legen in opposition to poien can obviously mean nothing other than talking, speaking. Nevertheless, in those decisive passages, fragments 1 and 2, logos does not mean discourse and does not mean word. Okay, let's see. Fragment 50, which seems to speak especially for logos as discourse, gives us a clue, when it is properly interpreted, to an entirely different understanding of logos. Properly? So many people would disagree with you. In order to see clearly and understand what is meant by logos in the sense of constant gathering. He's going to contend that logos is constant gathering. I've never heard of that. We must more accurately grasp the context of the fragments we first cited. Human beings stand before logos as those who do not grasp it oxentoi. Heraclitus often uses this word. See especially fragment 34. It is the negation of sunemi, which means bring together. Oxentoi, human beings, are such that they do not bring together. What then? Logos, that which is constantly together. Gatheredness, human beings, remain those who do not bring it together, do not grasp it, do not seize it as a unity, whether they have not yet heard or have already heard. The next sentence of fragment 1 explains what is meant. Human beings do not go through to logos, even if they try to do so with words. Epeia. Here, word and discourse are certainly named, but precisely as distinguished from, and even in opposition to, logos. Heraclitus wants to say, human beings do hear, and they hear words, but in this hearing they cannot hearken to it. That is, follow what is not audible like words, what is not talk but logos. Okay, I don't really know if I follow you there. Properly understood, fragment 50 proves precisely the opposite of what people read into it. It says that you should not cling to words. Sounds like Buddha. But instead, apprehend logos. Logos and legen already mean discourse and saying. But this is not the essence of logos, and therefore logos here is opposed to apeia, discourse. Correspondingly, genuine hearkening as being obedient is opposed to mere hearing and keeping one's ears open. Mere hearing strews and scatters itself. Mere hearing, so you're like, oh, you're hearing, you're not really focusing, but when you hearken, you're like, hey, you're focusing more? Let's see. In what one commonly believes and says, in hearsay, in doxa, in seeming. Okay, so you're not getting the full picture of comprehension. But genuine hearkening has nothing to do with the ear and the glib tongue, but instead means obediently following what logos is, the gatheredness of beings themselves. Okay, so we're going to do a little annotation. Logos equals the gatheredness of beings, lowercase b, beings themselves. We can truly hear only when we are already hearkening. Why can't you, only when we are already hearkening, why can't you begin to hearken? But hearkening has nothing to do with earlobes. Whoever is... okay. I mean, it's the mechanism you use to hearken, but your brain will interpret it. Right? Whoever is not hearkening is already always distant from logos, excluded from it, regardless of whether he has already heard with ears or has not yet heard. Those who merely hear by keeping their ears open everywhere and carrying around what has been heard are and will be accentoi, those who do not grasp. Fragment 34 tells us what they are like. Those who do not bring together the constant together are hearers who resemble the deaf. They do hear words in discourse, yet they are closed off to what they should listen to. That sounds Quranic. Except in his place he's putting logos when others put the Creator, who closes off what you can hear and then reveals it. Here he's saying that even if you were trying, you'd be separated from it and you'll be an accentoi. The proverb bears witness to what they are. Those who are absently present, alienated from themselves. They are in the midst of things, and yet they are away. What are human beings usually amidst, and what are they away from even while they are in the midst of things? Fragment 72 supplies the answer. 72, fragment 72. For they turn their backs on that which they traffic the most, logos, and what they run into every day appears alien to them. The logos is what human beings are continually amidst and what they are away from all the time. Absently present, they are thus the accentoi, those who do not grasp. So they're like, I see, now I see a little bit. So, but see, this would get into a really, Jesus is not everywhere. So God is everywhere. Because Jesus was not a god, he was a prophet. Right? So you can't say that, and then John the Evangelical, he's not everywhere. What they were talking about was everywhere. So maybe what they were talking about was everywhere. That God is present and his signs are present, but you don't really see it. So you are not grasping it, and so you're absently present. Then I could see a little bit of what he's saying, but he still hasn't made the Christian connection that he asserted earlier. What does the human inability to grasp consist in? When do they hear words but do not take hold of logos? What are they amidst and what are they away from? Human beings continually have to do with being, and yet it is alien to them. They have to do with being inasmuch as they constantly relate to beings, but is alien to them, inasmuch as they turn away from being. Because they do not grasp it at all, instead, they believe that beings are only beings and nothing further. I mean, beings and nothing further? What's further than a being? True, they are awake in relation to beings, yet being remains concealed to them. So you can say that's the phenomenal world, the nominal world, Plato's forms, the hereafter. You could say a lot of things. He still hasn't made the connection yet. They sleep, and even what they do in their sleep is lost to them as well. Thrashing around among beings, they always take what is closest to hand as what needs to be grasped. So every one keeps handy what lies within his grasp. Oh, so like information that you gathered, you hold on to what's useful to you? Well, yeah. One person takes hold of this, the other takes hold of that, and each person's sense follows what is his own is its caprice. Caprice prevents them from properly grasping in advance what is gathered in itself. It takes away from them the possibility of hearkening and accordingly of hearing. Caprice, let's put that down. Caprice. Reminds me of that juice, Capri Sun. I mean, his definition and interpretation of logos is quite different and quite unique. They do hear words in discourse, yet they are closed off to what they should listen to. It sounds like every religion says that ever, so I don't see how that's uniquely Christian. Logos is opposed to apeia. Doxa. In seeming. Lagan. We're gonna have to read Heraclitus eventually and see what, what he contends. Because Heidegger's really, since he's like so into words, I think he's reading a tad bit too much into it.